online with me, I got Jason Newman, who, man, like a month or so ago was telling me some great treasure hunting stories. And so, man, I wanted you guys to hear this. So with that said, Jason, let's dive into it. Tell me what some of them great stories.
So my name is Jason Newman. I lived in Vernal, Utah for about 35 years. I graduated high school there, lived in and out of there. And my brother-in-law used to work in Duchesne. And one day he was walking across the street to go get some lunch. And a guy stopped him and asked him where White Rocks, the city of White Rocks was. And he told him, go down the road here and turn left here and go here. And he's like, all right, thanks. So he didn't think much of it and went about his business. And 2 days later, there's a pickup and a trailer parked in front of where he worked. And he walked out to go get lunch. And the guy says, come here, I got to show you something. He's like, all right. So he walked over the trailer. He untied it and pulled a tarp back. And the bed of the trailer was lined with gold bars.
Really?
So he goes, this is what I was looking for. And it was in White Rocks. He's like, oh, cool. Well, how'd you know to go there? He goes, well, I was in a bar and I believe it was Boston. And there was an older Indian guy in there and he was drunk and started talking about if you go to White Rocks, Utah, you find a grave marker with this name on it, you dig down, it's full of gold bars. My ancestors killed the Spanish years ago, and this is where we hid these gold bars at. And he just kind of chuckled, old guy telling stories, drunk. And it kept nagging at him and nagging at him. So he took off and went and got him and was headed back. Well, he was so excited, he called his buddies from Boston, told them, hey, you guys, I'll fly you out here. I want you to drive this truck back to Boston. I'm going to fly home. He flew him out. He got on the airplane in Salt Lake and he got nailed. They're like, what are you doing with this gold bar? What's going on? They called the feds. They showed up, started questioning him, and he finally spilled the beans about where he got it. The feds found his buddies and took all the gold, called the Indian tribe, the Ute tribe. They came out and got it and drove it back and did something with it. And we learned this later because there was a small little article in the Salt Lake Tribune telling about how they busted the buddy and how the guy got busted and what happened with it all.
So he took one of the gold bars with him on the airplane. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
That's how he got
yeah,
busted?
that's how he got busted. Is he got so excited he took one of the gold bars on the airplane, and they busted him going through security.
So what, it was your brother that he showed it to?
Yes, my brother-in-law.
Did he know your brother-in-law, or why would he
No,
show it to him?
because he wanted to show him what he found when he told him, because he was going to White Rocks and what he had found there.
Oh,
He sat there and waited for him to go to lunch and then told him to come here. I want to show you this.
huh. Cool. And then I remember you had another story or something, didn't you?
I got several of them. So my
Come on, man. Don't hold out on us. Spill the beans.
so my father-in-law was a welder and he built the the Upper Stillwater Dam. And he was always friends with the local tribe guys. They were always at his house. And the first time I ever met him, there was 4 or 5 of them there at his house. Well, he had a welding truck. He's going up to Upper Stillwater, and there's a roadblock, and it was one of the Indians that he knew. So he's like, hey, come here. What's going on? He goes, oh, the dozer operator hit an old Spanish mine, and there's 65 gold bars in here, and we're going to move him to another location. Give us about 20 minutes, and we'll head out, and you can go ahead and go up the road. He's like, all right, can I see him? And he's like, no, you need to just stay right here so you don't get in trouble.
So there's been some stories of some people finding some gold and silver bars in that area. Other stories of uh, cat operators, digging, making roads and plowing up gold bars. And there's been them all in that area. So
Yeah. And
cool.
then my father-in-law was on a volunteer fire department. Don't want to say where at, but when the White Rocks fire was going, and I believe it was 88 or 89, I think it was, I don't remember, 88 or 89. He was up fighting fire right above White Rocks, and he had his fire truck up in there. He was by himself, and he was up there trying to get a little area put out, and his truck got high centered. He thought he got stuck on a rock. So he's trying to get out, finally got off, went to look, and there was a 6-foot cannon, brass cannon that he had slid up on and got stuck, that fire truck stuck on. And so he went down and told his buddies that worked for the tribe. He goes, hey, right up there, there's a brass cannon that I got stuck on. This is where it's at. This is where you need to go. And they're like, all right, as soon as we get this fire out, we'll take you and we'll go up and get it. He's like, all right. They never came and got him. He doesn't know if it's still there or not. So, but
Cool. So I guess, from the stories from your father-in-law, from you're, you're a 100% believer that these Spanish treasures are up there in the Uintas. You're a believer in that, because there's a lot of people saying there aren't any Spaniards up there. There ain't even any gold up there,
Yeah. Well, back in the 80s, 80s or early 90s, I guess. I wanted to get a metal detector and go play around. And I went to a guy over in Roosevelt to buy this metal detector that he had for sale. And I walk in there and I start visiting with him. And he's like, well, I'm a professional treasure hunter. I travel all over the United States looking for different treasures. And he goes, come here, I'll show you a few things. And so we walked over to his mantle, and he had a bunch of cannonballs, different sized cannonballs. And he's like, I got all these out of the Uintas. And then he showed me a bunch of pictures of some other stuff he found. I don't remember what it was, but a couple of them were mine shafts that he had found while playing around up there. The one I remember was up above Upper Stillwater, and that he was telling me about. And then we were elk hunting one year up above Upper Stillwater, me and my brother-in-law. And he's like, come here, let me show you the seashells. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, come here. And so we went into this draw, and there's this just section of gray dirt. And it was about 15 foot wide and about 50 foot long. And it was full of seashells, old ancient stuff, old petrified, not petrified, but like fossilized clams. There was like a squid impression, several different little animals, some like leaves that were stuck in that, it looked like it used to be like mud. It was a gray color. And he goes, this is the only place in the Uinta I've ever found this. And he goes, you want to go check out the old gold mine? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we took off, went up the valley and across the ridge and dropped down into this little place. And it was fenced off because I guess the whoever ran cattle up there, one of their cows fell in it years before, and they had a heck of a time getting it out. So they fenced it off. So we climbed the fence. The first part going down was a ladder, like an aluminum ladder. And you get down, and there was a platform that somebody had built with logs. And it had, I don't know what held them together, but they were like embedded back into the cliff face of this mine shaft. And you got there, and then from there down was like an old chicken ladder, the main pole with steps coming off, going across. and you get down in there, and there's a dark red metal down in there, an iron ore deposit down in the bottom.
Huh?
And somebody had been pulling samples out of there because there was a Home Depot bucket in the very bottom. And so they were pulling samples out of there. We called it the Indian Head Mine because in the one side of the mine shaft, there was a shelf cut into it about 6 inches wide and about 4 foot long. And there was a round object down there, and it had dark curly hair coming out of it, but it was mineralized over from the water dripping down in the bottom of that mine.
Huh?
And we don't know what it was. Everybody was too afraid to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Figured, if it was a skull, it was better left alone,
Yeah.
or just something else. But it looked like the size of a head, and it had this black curly hair looking stuff coming out of it.
Wow.
So we left that alone.
So
But
that brown with the marine fossils and stuffs in it, that brown, was it kind of porous?
it was almost like a shale.
Okay, it was a
It,
shell.
yeah, you could chip off slabs of it, but it was a gray color shale.
Ah,
And I got probably 100 grams or something in
wow.
somewhere that I took out of there.
Wow. The reason I asked if it was porous is because I had a guy show me that he found, and he found it on their Indian reservation back when they let you go on there. This is, back in the 50s and 60s. They don't let you do that, go on there anymore. But he found it was a gray, it was a porous type of rock, and it had little BBs like, I'd say like a number 8 shotgun BB all through it.
Huh.
They were round too. They was kind of round, all
Yeah,
through this.
yeah,
And I've always wondered, man, where that formation, it was kind of like a pumice, like a volcanic pumice type. It was riddled through. It was porous, you know. Anyway,
yeah. A friend of mine lived over in Roosevelt, between Roosevelt and uh, Altamont, Bluebell, back on that back road.
yeah.
And I went over to help him one day. He's like, "Hey, come here. I want to show you something." I'm like, "All right." So we hiked down there, and in this wash, there's a ledge. And he's like, "Do you see anything out of the normal here?" And I'm looking around, and I'm like, "No, why?" He goes, "Look straight down at your feet. You're almost standing on it. There was a cross carved in the rock."
Really?
And I thought it would have been, like in a cliff face or something, but it was on top of the wash. And the long point was pointing to a ridge. And he's like, "It's private property. I've always wanted to go look around over there, but I can't. I don't know who owns it." So I was telling my brother-in-law about it because me and him did a lot of stuff together. And he goes, "Yeah, there's an old mine over there. Somebody told me it was a gold mine, and my in-laws own the property. So we've been going over there and digging in it and pulling samples out, but nothing ever came out. So
Oh,
we played around with that a little bit, and did some stuff over in uh, West Fork of the Duchesne River. I've done some stuff over there, found some pretty cool stuff in the trees over there. I got lost. Well, I didn't get lost. I got confused for an hour or two, and found a bunch of cool stuff carved in a tree. I got GPS to that I've always
cool.
wanted to and play around with, but it's miserable getting down in there, and even more miserable getting out. So,
Ah, that's
but
another interesting area though. So yeah, man,
yeah,
something
yeah,
cool there.
but yeah, then there's a
Well,
lot more. Like I said, I've
that
traipsed across the Uintas, hunting, fishing, playing. Oh, I did buy the metal detector from the one guy in Roosevelt, and I was panning and running a metal detector in one of the creeks up on Red Cloud Loop Road, and found a 1930s penny, and it looked like um, Sorry, it's been a long day. My brain's leaving. The stuff in a thermometer, mercury.
Oh,
There was mercury in there, and then we found, I don't know, 6 or 8 flakes of gold up there.
huh.
And we always wanted to go back and look at it, and we never did make it back up there. But
Another interesting area off the Red Cloud Loop Road. Yeah.
yep,
The old town of the Bullionville was there, the old Dyer Mine, the yeah, a lot of stories in that area too. So
my buddy had he claimed a mine over off the Dyer mine, and he sent samples in to have them essayed, and it essayed at like 12 ounces of gold to the ton or 16 ounces of gold to the ton.
huh?
And he got a guy to go in partners with him, and the guy came in and tried laying the claim across his and stealing it from him, and
Really?
a bunch of stuff happened. And so last year when I was in Vernal, I called him and said, "Hey, I'm up on the mountain." He took me there back in like 1985, and I kind of remembered where it was, but not quite. And he told me where it was at, and somebody had taken a track hoe in there and dug that mine up and tore everything out of it.
Huh?
So, but and I guess I should tell you this one. This is my best one. Um, back once again back in the eight. No, I guess this was mid '90s. I was going through the police academy and made friends with this guy, and we worked at the sheriff's department together. And I won't mention his name, but um, one of our one of the guys that worked on the sheriff's department, his stepdad was a treasure hunter, and he was telling us about all this stuff up in the Uintas. So I'm like, all right, come on, let's go play around. So we went up Dry Fork, up to the Donut Arch. There's another story for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we took off and went up the trail, up through Massey Meadow and clear up. We got up their ways and turned and went east up on top and got up on top, and there was a bunch of carvings in the trees from the old sheep herders and stuff from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And we were playing around, and we found this old trail dropping off, and there was a big cross carved in the tree. So
I know where that cross is you're talking about. I found that probably back in the 80s myself.
yeah, so we took pictures of it. We got back then there wasn't GPS or any of that cool
Yep.
stuff. We just kind of took mental note of where it was at. Come back off the mountain, we dropped down. We didn't come down the same way we went up, and I found an old trail going down through there, and there was pine trees 16, 18 inches in diameter growing up through the middle of this old trail. And I started following it down through there, and my buddy, he got lost and was yelling at me. And so I turned around to see kind of in the direction where he was yelling, and there was a pistol carved in a tree pointing down. So I'm like, "Hey, over here, come check this out." So we took pictures of it, figured out where it was at, and we came to town. We gave them to this guy we worked with. He sent them off to his father-in-law. We never heard anything back. Well, in like February, he gets a hold of us and says, "Where was those pictures taken at?" And we're like, "Oh, up Dry Fork." "Well, where at?" "Well, they're in Dry Fork." "Why?" He goes, "Well, you guys need to get back up there. The pistol pointing down means treasure buried here. You guys need to go dig at the base of that tree and see what's there." So we were all excited, waiting for Forest Service to open the road for us to get time off together. The Forest Service opened the road up there. We decided, you know what? The next, that was like on a Tuesday. We're like, all right, on Saturday when we're off, let's go. All right. So we take off up there. We get up there, and somebody had unloaded a four-wheeler, and we followed the tracks up, and right where we needed to turn is where the four-wheeler tracks went, right directly to our tree. And
Uh-huh.
somebody had dug it all up. There was a hole that was dug that was 4 feet deep, 2 foot wide, and 6 foot long. Somebody had dug a hole right there. And there wasn't a whole lot of dirt.
Really?
So
So the
some,
kind of squared edges, like something was in there, or
yeah, yeah, they had used a pick to dig down in there, and then they had dug out whatever was there, and had taken off with the four-wheeler. So
wow, you missed it, huh?
yeah, yeah.
Did it look like it was freshly dug?
Uh, yeah, well, the tracks were fresh
Oh,
within
the
the last
tracks
couple
were
of
still
days.
there, yeah.
Yeah, because Forest Service had just opened the road
Huh?
3 4 days before we were there, so somebody was
Wow.
there the last couple of days. And then when I was a kid, my my mom and dad took us to Massey Meadow just on a Sunday afternoon, after church, hanging out, and let's get out of the house for a little while. We went up there, and me and my sisters were playing hide and seek up there. And so I was about 12 years old or so. And I took off running. I went up this little draw and hid in behind the bushes. It was in the fall of the year. And I hid in behind the bushes where they couldn't see me. And I was laying down right there, and there was some cold air blowing on me. And I was like, what is this? So I started pulling the rocks away, and there was a hole down in there. And I was like, well, ooh, that may be, a wild animal or something denning up there. So it kind of scared me. So I took off and left. And, we were playing and screwing around. We got in vehicles and left. And it wasn't till years later I started reading about, the mine of lost souls and the other stuff in that area. So I always wanted to go back and look. I kind of know the area where it's at, but it's been a couple days. So,
Well,
but
when you get back out here, you'll have to go check that out. That's definitely one you want to go check it out because
yeah,
if there was cold air coming out of it, it's not just some little animal burrow that just goes in there and ends, man. It's
that's quite true.
Yeah, you need to go check that out.
But all right, sir, that's going to have to do for today.
Well, with that said, Jason, man, I appreciate it, and that's a wrap.
Where the echoes don't fade. Maps in his pocket, a past left engraved. Footsteps and shadows where the giants once stood. Searching for answers misunderstood. Nephilim bones, cities in stone. Buried so deep where the lights never shone. A name on the wind, a secret untold. He's chasing the ghosts where the stories unfold. Nephilim bones, cities in stone. Buried so deep where the lights never shone. A name on the wind, a secret untold. He's chasing the ghosts where the stories unfold. Terry caught her out on the run, chasing the myths underneath the sun. Digging up truth where the past still breathes. Lost in the ruins where legends don't leave. Faded inscriptions, trails left to read. Following whispers in the cracks of the reeds. Through the wastelands, the riverbeds dry. Digging through time with a fire in his eyes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nephilim bones, cities in stone. Buried so deep where the lights never shone. A name on the wind, a secret untold. He's chasing the ghosts where the stories unfold. Terry Carter out on the run, chasing the myths underneath the sun. Digging up truth where the past still breathes. Lost in the ruins where legends don't leave. There's gold in the hills, but it's more than the price. It's the echoes of time and the secrets inside. Through the fractures of stone and the ruins untold. The past isn't gone, it's just buried in gold. chasing the myths underneath the sun, digging up truth where the past still breathes, lost in the ruins. Well,